As I gripped the steering wheel tighter, the beam of my headlights cut through the pitch-black night, unveiling a narrow, winding road that snaked through an endless forest. The only sound was the low hum of my car engine, occasionally punctuated by the rustle of leaves in the chilling wind. I had always enjoyed driving at night, finding solace in the solitude it offered. But tonight felt different. An inexplicable unease had settled in my chest the moment I veered off the main highway onto this desolate path, supposedly a shortcut back home. The further I drove, the denser the forest grew, swallowing the road into its shadowy maw. My heart skipped a beat when a sudden flash of movement caught my eye. A figure, pale and indistinct, darted across the road and vanished into the trees. I slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, straining my eyes to pierce the darkness beyond the headlights. Nothing but the whisper of the wind greeted me. "It's just your imagination," I muttered, trying to calm my racing heart. I couldn't have seen what I thought I did. It was just a trick of the light, or perhaps a stray animal. Shaking off the fear, I pressed on, eager to leave the eerie stretch of road behind. But as miles stretched on, a heavy fog began to roll in, reducing my visibility to mere feet ahead. The road now seemed to twist and turn more treacherously, and I slowed to a crawl, afraid of what might be lurking in the fog. That's when my car started to behave strangely. The engine stuttered, the lights flickered, and the radio, which I had turned off hours ago, crackled to life with static. Panic set in as I realized I was no longer in control. The car seemed to be moving on its own, guided by some unseen force. I tried to brake, but the pedal was unresponsive. The steering wheel spun wildly in my hands as the car picked up speed, careening down the road. Then, as suddenly as it began, the car screeched to a halt, leaving me gasping for air in the silence. I was about to step out when a voice whispered through the static of the radio, chilling me to the bone. "Don't leave," it said, barely above a murmur yet clear in the dead of night. I was frozen, terror gripping me tighter than the seatbelt. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, but the warning in the voice held me in place, and then I saw it, in the rearview mirror. A face pale and twisted in agony, pressed against the back window. I spun around, but there was nothing there. When I looked back into the mirror, the face was gone, replaced by the normal reflection of the empty back seat. My breath came in ragged gasps, my mind reeling from what I had seen. Was I losing my grip on reality, or was something truly sinister at play? Deciding I couldn't stay in the car, I mustered every ounce of courage to step out into the fog. The cold air hit me like a wall, and the fog seemed to swallow the sound of the car door closing behind me. The road was gone, obscured by the dense white mist, and all around me, the forest seemed alive with whispered voices and soft, mocking laughter. I was lost, adrift in a nightmare with no end in sight. I wandered aimlessly, the sense of being watched growing stronger with every step. Shadows moved just beyond the edge of visibility, and I could feel eyes on me, malevolent and hungry. The fog began to whisper my name, voices calling me deeper into the woods. I ran, terror lending speed to my feet, but the forest seemed to shift around me, paths twisting and turning back on themselves, leading me further from salvation. Just when I thought I could run no more, I stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood an old, decrepit house, its windows like dark, watching eyes. The front door creaked open as if inviting me in. Inside, I thought, might be refuge or perhaps a phone to call for help. But as I approached, a feeling of dread settled in my stomach. This house, like the road, was not what it seemed. I stood at the threshold, caught between the urge to enter and the instinct to flee. That's when I heard it. A scream, high and terrible, slicing through the night. It came from the house, a sound of pure agony and fear, and then silence, thick and suffocating. I backed away, realizing too late that the true horror wasn't in the house or the forest, but in the realization that the night itself had ensnared me. The fog, the voices, the shifting shadows, they were all part of a malevolent force that had no intention of letting me leave. I don't know how long I wandered. After leaving that foreboding threshold, my mind a labyrinth of fear and confusion, mirroring the twisted paths of the woods. The realization dawned on me with the weight of 1,000 nights. I was part of the forest now, a ghost among its ancient specters, doomed to wander its shadowed paths eternally. In my endless wandering, I began to understand the true horror of my situation. The forest, the fog, the voices, they weren't just manifestations of my fear. They were the forest itself, alive with a malevolent consciousness that fed on the terror of lost souls like me. It was a predator, and I, its latest prey, ensnared by its cunning lure. Days, or perhaps it was years, time lost its meaning in that eternal night, passed in a haze of terror and despair. I encountered others, or what remained of them, spirits broken by the forest's relentless torment. We were all bound by the same fate, condemned to relive our darkest fears in a never-ending nightmare. But the human spirit, even faced with the abyss, clings to a sliver of hope. Mine came in the form of whispers, soft and fleeting, carried on the wind. They spoke of a way out, a path through the darkness that led to freedom. The whispers were cautious, for the forest listened, eager to snuff out any spark of hope. Guided by these whispers, I embarked on a journey that tested the very limits of my sanity. The forest threw its most terrifying illusions at me, beasts of shadow and bone, twisted landscapes where the ground itself sought to devour me. But with each step, the whispers grew stronger, a beacon of light in the unyielding darkness. The final trial was the most harrowing. The forest, in a desperate bid to keep its prey, conjured the illusion of my deepest fear, the car crash that had started it all, with me trapped inside, flames licking at my flesh. But through the pain and the fear, I heard the whispers, now clear and commanding, urging me to push through the illusion. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the nightmare shattered. I found myself standing at the edge of the forest, the dawn breaking on the horizon. The sun's first rays pierced the darkness, and the forest behind me fell silent, its power broken by the light. I stepped out of the shadows and into the light, free at last. Behind me, the forest stood still, a dark silhouette against the morning sky. It was a reminder of the night's horrors, but also of the strength I had found within myself. As I walked away from that place of darkness, I knew my life would never be the same. The night had changed me, scared me, but it had also shown me the resilience of the human spirit. I had faced my darkest fears and emerged victorious, but the forest remains, waiting in the darkness for the next lost soul to wander into its grasp. And the whispers, now a distant memory, serve as a warning to all who might be tempted by the shortcuts through the shadows. For the road less traveled is fraught with perils unseen, and only those with the strongest will can hope to escape the night unscathed.